Okay, everybody, welcome to our Bytes webinar. Today we'll be talking about Symantec Backup Exec 2012. And we've got Kelly Cooley here from Symantec and Helen Murphy and Matt Compton, who are our Symantec specialists here at Bytes. Before we get the webinar started, just a few housekeeping details. So during the webinar you will be muted, but you can submit questions at any time via the questions box, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. There will be a question and answer session at the end, so if you do submit your questions into that box, then they will all be answered at the end. The webinar will be recorded and we will make it available on our website, but we will also send you an email at the end and just let you know the link for that. And there will also be a critique form which we'll send out once you leave the webinar. If you could just fill that in, that would be brilliant. And then you can also request a call back on one of our Bytes specialists. It will most probably either be Helen or Matt will then get in touch with you if you've got any specific questions. So I'm now going to hand over to Kelly Cooley from Symantec, who will begin her presentation.
Morning everyone, my name's Kelly Cooley and as Sarah said, I'm here to deliver a Backup Exec presentation, and at the end of the presentation I'll be doing a live demo of the new Backup Exec features. So today I plan to cover the Backup Exec new licensing because there's some changes as of the release of 2012 last year. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Backup Exec appliance and some of the technical new features that are included in the Backup Exec product. So obviously the Backup Exec software has been around for a very long time, and that is still available. You can still buy the Backup Exec software for management of your backup jobs and the various agents and options for backing up your physical and your virtual infrastructure. But Symantec have released some extra additions to the Backup Exec product portfolio. We have now released a hardware appliance for your backup jobs, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in a few slides' time. But we've also introduced a Backup Exec cloud service, which allows you to back up directly to the Symantec data center. And the way it works is it's obviously aimed at smaller organizations with simpler backup needs, but it's all managed from a web-based console, so no hardware required obviously for the Backup Exec management components. And from that web-based console you can configure a backup policy which allows you to define what you want to back up and when you want to back it up to the Symantec data center. You deploy a small agent to your workstations and servers that you're backing up, and it will obviously back up whatever you've selected within your policy. It works in a forever incremental way, so obviously the initial backup will be full, but after that initial backup it will just be block level incremental changes. And all data that's backed up is encrypted during storage in our data centers, but also during transit as well with 256 AES encryption. So there are three Backup Exec formats essentially. So going back to the software, as I said, you can still buy the Backup Exec service software and the agents and options to suit your environment. We refer to that as a la carte because essentially you're choosing from the Backup Exec menu what agents and options you want to use in your environment. But with the release of Backup Exec 2012 last year, we've also introduced some licensing bundles that you can actually buy. So we have a new V-Ray bundle, which is for backing up a virtual environment, and I'm going to talk about how that's licensed and what it is in a second. The Capacity Edition and the Small Business Edition. So starting with V-Ray. As I said, V-Ray is essentially a bundle of products which is aimed at specifically backing up a virtual environment. So it includes various elements of the Backup Exec software. So it includes a copy of the Backup Exec media server, which you can install on a separate physical server if you like. It includes the deduplication option, which is fantastic if you're backing up multiple virtual machines. The deduplication option basically looks at the data being backed up from each virtual machine and eliminates duplicate data to reduce the amount of storage space needed, so that works very well in a virtual environment. Of course, it includes the agent for backing up either VMware virtual hosts and Hyper-V virtual hosts as well, and of course it includes the agents for backing up all the guest virtual machines, and those can be a mix of obviously Windows and Linux. And it includes unlimited use of the agents for applications and databases for the applications running inside a guest virtual machine. So this is why it's ideally suited to a predominantly virtual infrastructure, because obviously it works out very competitively priced, because all the agents for applications and databases are actually included with that. It's licensed in a slightly different way to the other Backup Exec products. It's licensed per occupied socket on the virtual host server, and then a two-tier model within that, depending on the number of processing cores per socket. And we do actually have a special offer on this particular product at the moment, which we'll be sending you out details of after the WebEx. So that's the V-Ray edition. The Capacity edition we describe as a kind of all-you-can-eat offering. Essentially, it's licensed per front and terabyte of data being backed up, and it includes unlimited access to the agents and options, all the different Backup Exec agents and options. So essentially, it suits environments where you've got large amounts of data to back up, or customers with more complex needs. So they need access to de-duplication, for example, NDMP, all the different agents and options. This would work out the most cost-effective solution. Because it's licensed per front and terabyte of data being backed up, obviously there's going to be some analysis required to find out or discover how much data there is to be backed up. So Symantec do provide tools to be able to allow you to do that analysis and find out how much data you're backing up, and also how much the deduplication option could save you. The Small Business Edition, it's a replacement for the old Backup Exec 2010 SBS edition, and again it's aimed at small organisations, obviously, geared more towards backing up a Windows environment. It backs up obviously a Windows server operating system as well as Windows applications. It is limited to backing up Hyper-V host only and not VMware, and of course limited to backing up just Microsoft applications too. When you buy the Small Business Edition, that will cover the server that you're actually putting that copy of the Small Business Edition on, so it will back up all the applications and obviously the operating system files within that server, but you can buy additional agents for backing up further, either physical or virtual servers. However, this product is limited to backing up 3 servers in total, and that can be a mix of physical and virtual. So, like I said, it backs up the server that you actually install it on, and if you wanted to back up further virtual or physical servers, you need to buy additional agents. And like I said, it is limited to backing up Microsoft applications such as Hyper-V, Exchange, SQL, SharePoint, Active Directory. It doesn't support Oracle, dedupe, and the more enterprise level options like the deduplication, archiving, NDMP, and the enterprise server option. But apart from that, it is the same copy, essentially the same edition of Backup Exec. You have the same features available to you in the Small Business Edition that you do in the Standard Edition. Right, now introducing the Backup Exec appliance. This is a relatively new addition to the Backup Exec product family. It was released roughly at summertime last year, and of course it's a hardware appliance that we ship out. So these are the hardware elements in the appliance. It comes with a SAS disk, which is capable of storing 5.5 terabytes of deduped data. It also comes with a solid-state drive, and this is actually where the operating system files and the Backup Exec installation files are held. So it comes with a copy of Windows 2008 as well as with Symantec Critical System Protection. And of course the hardware appliance has been defined with optimized performance in mind, so it comes with quad-core processors and 16 gig of memory. It also comes with ports for USB storage, network storage, and tape storage as well. So you as well as the disk-based storage, you can have multiple other storage options for longer-term storage or off-site storage. We do 2 different versions of the appliance. The hardware is the same between the 2 different options. It's just the software that changes. So we have the Essential Protection Suite and the Total Protection Suite. Essential Protection comes with a copy of Backup Exec, as you'd expect. You can manage your backup jobs. It also comes with a deduplication option, and it also comes with agents for backing up remote Windows, Linux, and Mac servers, as well as agents for backing up virtual hosts, both VMware and Hyper-V, and agents for backing up your applications as well. So that's the Essential Protection Suite. The Total Protection Suite, again, is aimed at slightly larger organisations, and it does include all of the software components listed with the Essential Protection, but over and above that, it also has centralised management for managing multiple Backup Exec media servers, NDMP support for backing up of NDMP-enabled networks, servers and filers, and the remote media agent for Linux for storing data on a remote Linux storage on a remote Linux server, as well as multiple drive library support. So this would support multiple tape drives, whereas the Essential Protection will only support one tape library. So they're the differences between the two different suites. And of course it comes with services as well. So the hardware comes with a 3-year warranty. But in addition to that, the pricing model allows you to buy 1 or 3 years of support, and this of course includes phone support for the hardware and the software. And we do have options to allow customers to request spare data drives and power supplies that they can hold on site themselves. So that's the Backup Exec appliance. Now, apart from the cloud, which is a slightly different offering, all the other different versions of Backup Exec that I've been talking about, the Small Business Edition, the V-Ray Edition, and the appliance, essentially uses the same Backup Exec management console. And now I'm going to talk about some features within that management console that are new to 2012. First one is the new interface. So Symantec have obviously done a complete redesign of the user interface to make it more user-friendly and easier to navigate. So now the interface is focused around the servers being backed up rather than job policies. So we call this either a server-centric view or a resource-centric view. The interface has been, like I said, simplified. You just have the 4 tabs across the top there. The home, which gives you a summary of your backup jobs and your storage, and any alerts that might have happened for failed backup jobs. Backup and Restore tab, which is where it lists servers that you're backing up. So as you can see, I've got multiple servers in there, and it gives you a view of the last 7 days worth of backups, so you can quickly see whether they've been successful or failed, and the status of those servers, whether it's got a backup job scheduled or whether the one's been completed on it. And this is where you'll do the majority of the work. You can easily do an on-the-fly backup or restore job from this Backup and Restore tab. And it's a replacement essentially for the old Job Monitors view of 2010. You have the Storage tab, which is where you define your storage. And again, it's very easy and quick to set up new storage within the storage area. You've got a wizard to guide you through the process. And you can set up storage for either disk, tape, network, all can be done from that tab there. And then reports obviously allows you to configure customized reports, or just run one of the standard report templates to give you information on the Backup Exec service. We've also eliminated complexity within the creation of the job itself. So now there is one backup job per server that you're backing up. So obviously in the previous screenshot you saw the servers listed in the Backup Exec console. You would click on a server, click on the backup button on the toolbar, and then it opens this screen here where it allows you to select what you'd like to back up, where you want to back it up to, and obviously the schedule. So you can set different schedules for the full and the incrementals or differentials. We've also eliminated complexity by allowing you to add stages onto a sort of base backup job. So the components of the backup job that I've just been describing, i.e. what you want to back up, where you want to back it up to, and the schedule is considered a base backup job. You can see in the screenshot there is an add stage button for allowing you to sort of daisy chain extra stages onto that initial backup job. So the kind of stages you can do, you can back up to disk, you can copy to tape, or you can convert to virtual machine. So this is the full list. So like I said, you can duplicate to disk. So the initial backup job might back up to disk anyway, but you can duplicate to a second disk or duplicate to tape for off-site storage. You can also choose to convert to virtual machine either during the backup job or scheduled at some point after, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more detail a little bit later. And you've also got an archiving option. So you can see you can create very complex jobs fairly easily from the one Backup Exec job window. Another new feature built into the product is simplified disaster recovery. And this gives you options to essentially recover a physical server if there was some drastic failure, like some kind of hardware failure, maybe even virus infection. You can use this tool to completely recover the physical server. It essentially allows you to do bare metal recovery by booting the server with a recovery disk. The recovery disk boots into a Windows PE minimal operating system and gives you tools for network configuration as well as disk configuration, and of course allowing you to recover the data either from a local or remote network resource. So you can download a generic recovery disk directly from the Symantec website, which obviously supports both 32-bit and 64-bit operating systems. And just using that generic disk, you could recover your physical server and obviously point to the data backup for that physical server. You can also create your own customized recovery disks within the Backup Exec management console, and you can add additional drivers to that recovery disk to support dissimilar hardware. So you don't have to restore to the same server. Essentially, you can restore to a different physical server if needs be. And these are features that are just included as part of the standard Backup Exec software. They're included with the Small Business Edition as well as the standard edition. So simplified disaster recovery is essentially creating or allowing you to do full system recovery of any failed server. And there are some requirements for this within the backup job itself. So when you are creating a new backup job, it takes you to this backup selection window where you can obviously choose what you'd like to back up. Simplified disaster recovery is switched on by default, and with this switched on, it automatically backs up the system volume and the system state as part of any new backup jobs. You can, of course, switch this on, but with simplified disaster recovery, it will, if you have this switched on, it creates a disaster recovery file, which is then used with if you have to carry out a full disaster recovery of that physical server. So like I said, this is switched on by default and gives you those extra recovery options. This is a screenshot of what the recovery wizard looks like. So as I said, it's wizard driven. It guides you through the process. You essentially just boot with the disk in the drive, and the wizard will automatically pop up and guide you through the process. So as you can see, there's tabs on there for network configuration, and from there you can do commands such as configuring the IP address, and you can do network troubleshooting such as pinging remote machines. And of course, you've got disk configuration as well. You can configure the disk using the utilities section. When you pick the recovery option, as I was saying earlier, it will allow you to recover from either a locally attached device. This could be USB or tape locally attached to the server that you're recovering, or you can specify to recover data from a remote device, and of course this would browse across to a remote Backup Exec server to recover the data, and at this point is looking for the disaster recovery file that's created as part of that backup job. So that's simplified disaster recovery. We've also added another new feature for recovery, again to make it quicker and give you more recovery options. It's the convert to virtual machine feature. So this allows you to do a physical server backup and create a virtual machine from it. So obviously you would have a scheduled full job to be run for a particular physical server, and you can choose to either do the convert to virtual process simultaneously with that backup job, or to be scheduled for a later date. So they're the two different options. So they're called P2V and B2V. Convert to virtual, which happens simultaneously to the backup job, and B2V, which happens at some point after the initial job. So this is very easy to do. It's done by that add stage button that I showed you earlier within the backup job window. You would set up a backup job to back up, say for example, your domain controller. To maybe that would be run on a weekly or daily basis, and you can click on the add stage button to do the convert to virtual, and you've got the option of choosing whether it's done immediately or at a later date. This is supported, so that the virtual machine is obviously automatically created in the hypervisor that you specify. It supports VMware, Fortin 5 and Hyper-V on Windows 2008. So they're the hypervisors that it supports. when you pick the convert to virtual option within the backup job, the new virtual machine is automatically created on that hypervisor that you specify. So within the job settings, you obviously have to specify the hypervisor IP address name and an account that can be used to access that hypervisor. And the virtual machine, like I said, is automatically created and ready to boot up in case of hardware failure on the physical machine. And again, all that's required to actually do this is the simplified disaster recovery feature switched on within the backup job, because essentially you're just creating a full copy of that physical server but in a virtual environment. So you need the system to simplify disaster recovery feature switched on, and you need to be able to back up the system state, system volume, and obviously the data for that physical server. Okay, another new feature is the granular recovery option. So within Backup Exec now you can do granular recovery of all sorts of applications, including Exchange, SQL, Active Directory, SharePoint. And this works both in a physical and a virtual environment. Essentially, for every server that you're backing up, you will install an agent on that server to back up data files, obviously, and applications on that server. That agent collects obviously the information that you choose to back up, including metadata on the applications that you specify to back up. And using that information, it allows you to do granular recovery. And this works the same whether in a physical or virtual environment. And by granular recovery, I mean the ability to to recover individual emails from Exchange, for example, or individual documents from SharePoint. So it gives you that level of granularity built into the product. Another new feature is data deduplication. So data deduplication is essentially included in some of the bundles that I was talking about. So it's included with the appliance. It's also included with V-Ray as well, and the capacity edition. If you're buying from the a la carte menu, then it's an extra paid for option. But what is deduplication? Essentially, it's the process of looking at the data that's being backed up, breaking that data into smaller chunks, creating a fingerprint or a hash of those chunks, and comparing those hashes against previously backed up hashes. And by doing this, you can eliminate duplicates of the chunks of data. So you're reducing the amount of data being backed up, but still giving you the full options for recovery. So essentially, over a period of time, this will save you data storage space that's required, and of course can potentially allow you to save data on disk for longer periods of time, and of course save you money on data storage as well. So the way it works within Backup Exec, you can set it up to work in a number of different ways. It defaults to doing server-side deduplication, which means the processing of that breaking down of data, hash of the data chunks is done on the Backup Exec media server. So the processing is done there, and obviously you can specify for that data to be saved on a local disk on the Backup Exec media server. So you can set up server-side deduplication. You can also set up client-side deduplication, which means the agent for Windows is essentially doing that process of breaking down the data into chunks. And the benefits of this is essentially, because the agent for Windows is breaking down the chunks of data and comparing them against the list of data that's already been backed up, it will only send those unique blocks across the network. So essentially you're reducing the amount of network traffic if you pick client-side deduplication. And it's very easy to enable this. You don't need to install any extra components on the remote servers that you're backing up. It's the agent for Windows that does this extra processing. So that's the client-side deduplication. And then appliance deduplication. You can buy specific, sorry, I just had a pop up on my screen. You can buy specific appliances that work with our OST technology that allow those appliances to store our deduplicated data. So essentially there's a limited list of vendors that sell these appliances, and if you enable appliance deduplication, the appliance will not only do the deduplication processing but store obviously the deduplicated data. An optimized duplication is a process of copying the deduplicated data between deduplication storage devices, whether that be local disk on the Backup Exec media server or appliances. So you can see you can enable deduplication in a number of different ways, but it doesn't matter really which way you set it up. The overall aim is to obviously to reduce the amount of data being backed up and to reduce data storage requirements and the cost associated with that. So like I said, if you're doing client-side deduplication, essentially it's the agent for Windows that does that extra deduplication process. It will break down the data into 128 kilobyte chunks and send the fingerprint or the hash of that chunk across the network to the Backup Exec server, and only obviously unique chunks are sent, so therefore eliminating unnecessary data being sent across the network. And in a kind of customer case scenario, this is how it could be essentially set up. So this example gives 3 different offices: the main office with the Backup Exec media server, and 2 remote branch offices, site 2, again having a local Backup Exec media server, and site 3, it doesn't have a Backup Exec media server, it just has file and application servers to back up. So because you have a Backup Exec media server on the main office, you can enable server-side deduplication to handle the deduplicated data from the file and application servers on that site. On site 2, because again there's a Backup Exec media server, you can do server-side deduplication again. So the data can be stored on that local Backup Exec media server in its deduplicated format. And between the 2 offices, between the main office and that site 2, you can do optimized duplication, which would keep copies of the data on both Backup Exec deduped disk storage, but it would only send the unique bytes of data between the 2 storage devices. So again, you're minimizing the amount of network traffic by enabling optimized duplication. And then on the third site, because there's no Backup Exec media server, you can enable client-side deduplication, and it's the agent for Windows that does the processing in that case, and only the unique chunks of data are sent across the network to the main office to be stored at the Backup Exec media server on dedupe disk storage. And then for offsite, in this scenario, you can enable replication to tape or private cloud. So we do work with a third-party vendor for offering cloud storage within the main Backup Exec product. And so you can enable that within the, you can duplicate the dedupe data to tape or private cloud. Okay, just some links with further information, tools that are useful for you to know about. In terms of licensing, obviously there's various agents and options available to buy with the Backup Exec product. So the best place to go if you're unsure about the agents and options you need is this backupexec.com website. If you do /BE guide and click on the link to view a complete list of the agents and options, it gives you a breakdown of all the different agents and options that we sell and what each of those does, so you can see which ones are suitable. I also mentioned the deduplication assessment tool. So it's known as BDAT, so it stands for Backup Exec Deduplication Assessment Tool, and it's available to partners, and it allows you to do analysis across a network of the data being backed up, and then how much storage space you could save if you use the deduplication option. So it's a good tool, one, to analyze how much data there is to be backed up, but also to look at the cost savings that the deduplication option can save you. And of course you've got the main backupexec.com website, where there are videos of both WebExes and product tours, and of course data sheets and white papers as well on the Backup Exec product. So that particular site is constantly being updated with new information, so it's worth checking out. And of course there's Symantec Connect, which is available if you're looking for to find out further technical information on the Backup Exec product, and this would be in addition to the main sort of technical support website of the Symantec web page. So there are my slides, and in addition to the information I've just given you, obviously the Backup Exec product is available for a 60-day trial mode, so you can download that directly from the Symantec website and trial it in a 60-day trial mode. And same with any of the agents and options I've spoken about. You can once you've got the Backup Exec software installed, you can go and try out any of the agents and options that I've been talking about in a 60-day trial mode. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand over to Matt now to talk a little bit more about the Bytes and Symantec relationship. So I'll just make him presenter. Okay, then Matt, you should be able to.
Thank you, Kelly. So, thanks for that. So, you should now all be on my screen. You should have a Byte slide in front of you. So, after this, we're just going to go into a quick Q&A. So, while I'm just going through this, and feel free to put any questions in on the right-hand side. We've had a couple come through, so we'll do that after that, and then Kelly will be going into her demo for those that wish to remain on the webinar. So, who are Bytes? Where we come from? So we're a Symantec Platinum partner. What does that mean? It means we're the highest level of partner across EMEA, which means we get access to the best pricing levels, and it's all down to relationship and the amount of effort that we put in with Symantec in the background. So we do have a dedicated team of product and license specialists. You've got myself and Helen on the call today, and we'll be following up with conversations on the back of today's webinar. We've been working with Symantec for well over 15 years now, so again, building very good relationships. All our account managers have SSD accreditations across the core product set, so Backup Exec, for instance, they would all have their Symantec Sales Expert accreditation. So if Helen and I are not available for any reason, then your account manager in hand has the ability to talk around Backup Exec. Symantec has different specializations across their product sets, of which we are across data protection, endpoint management, and archiving. Backup Exec will fall into the data protection pool, as would its older brother, which is Net Backup. What does that mean? It means that we have to have technical accreditations as well as product and licensing specializations. So we have a team of dedicated consultants. So if you've just got product and license questions, then Helen and I would be able to cover that. However, if you wanted to deep dive into more technical health checks or implementations or migrations, then that's something that we'd also be able to help with. Those team of consultants are also across the endpoint management range, so that plugs into the Ulterior's product set and archiving as well. So all of this put together gives us a real strong relationship with Symantec, and they see us as a go-to partner, and we're always in the top few based on revenue on an annual basis. So we hang over to the questions now. We do have one on the right-hand side, and so if you could just let Kelly back into the voice, would be good. So we have one around the support for Windows 2012 and when that can be expected to happen. Kelly, do you know sort of timelines on when the release is at?
It's certainly going to be in the next product release. It's currently open for beta testing in the next couple of weeks. I don't have fixed dates, unfortunately, but all I can really say at the moment is it definitely will be the next release of Backup Exec, which is due shortly.
Okay. The second one is the BDAT tool available to customers as well as partners?
It has to be used via a partner, unfortunately, so the partner can download it on your behalf, and then the tool's actually quite large in size, but they can certainly send it to you or install it for you on your network, and then that would obviously do analysis. Obviously, the recommended sort of analysis time would be either a couple of days or a week. So the partners can certainly, so Bytes can certainly download it on your behalf and forward the tool to you. So yeah.
So to evolve on that, if anyone was looking to run the BDAT tool, then follow up myself with Helen on the end of this call. And what we do is we plug you into one of our consultants. Usually it's just a quick telephone call as to how the BDAT tool works. You'd install it on your servers, run that for a period of time, and then that would be able to give that output that we would obviously be able to present back to you. Um, and then the dedupe, does this work with the NDMP backups?
What, so from taking data from NDMP servers? Yes, the answer is it works with any data taken from any servers. So it looks at all data being backed up across all backup jobs, regardless of the source, essentially, and will I can never say it, dedupify it or deduplicate it, and obviously only save unique blocks. So yes.
Okay, thank you. With V-Ray, do you still have the ability to back up physical servers, and would this be an additional license for the agent on a per server basis?
Yes, so V-Ray gives you agents for Windows and agents for apps and database for backing up any virtual guests. But if you do have additional physical servers to back up, you would either need to buy an agent for Windows or an agent for apps and databases per physical server that you're backing up. So that offer that I spoke about earlier, we've got quite a good discount available at the moment on the cost of the agent for backing up the virtual host, as well as discounts on the agents for backing up the physical servers as well. But yes, you do essentially need separate agents for the physical servers.
Okay, thank you. What versions of Exchange are required to support Granular recovery of mail items?
2003, 2007, 2010. So basically any of the ones supported by our agent are you can do granular recovery from.
Okay, thank you. Is there still support for LTO drives on SCSI connections?
Not sure about that one. Do you mind if I get back on that one and follow up?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're taking note on that, and we will come back to Kevin on that one. And can this product be integrated with EMC's data domain?
No, essentially, because data domain do a very similar job. Well, there's elements of data. Oh, do you mean? Oh, sorry. In terms of dedupe appliance.
So I would assume so around EMC. So if you've got an EMC data domain in the background doing your dedupe, would you be able to sit a backup exec console on the top of it to do the backup and then to integrate?
Yes, sorry, I misunderstood the question. Yes, data domain is supported.
Okay, and does the granular recovery work with Lotus Domino?
No, that's not supported with Lotus Domino. It's mostly the Microsoft applications, so Exchange, SharePoint, SQL, etc. Lotus is not covered.
Okay, and is there a license upgrade option from the a la carte options for the V-Ray bundle, as we already have a current support on our BE 2012?
You certainly can. So basically, because essentially the V-Ray bundle is the same Backup Exec product with just different agents and options enabled, yes, you can sort of cross-grade essentially to that if you wanted to. But I would say it would depend on what you've bought already and what you're going to. Obviously, that will have an implication on the cost of moving across.
Okay. Is there an upgrade path for those already using BE 2012 R3? Sorry, 2010.
I was going to say,
yeah,
yeah, you can do a rolling upgrade from 2010 R3. It sort of depends on your infrastructure, the kind of backup jobs that you've got set up. So it will do a rolling upgrade and import all your jobs across. But because of the way that Backup Exec 2012 is actually structured, i.e. a job per server rather than having job policies, sometimes, depends on what jobs you've got set up, it might be better to do a clean install. So I'd have a look at how complex your backup jobs are before making a decision whether to do a rolling upgrade or do a clean install. But yes, it certainly can. You do have the ability to do a rolling upgrade, and what happens, it does automatically pull across your backup jobs and of course your servers, and it gives you a data migration report which actually outlines the changes made to your servers, so you can look at that and review what tweaks you need to make and what things maybe couldn't be upgraded across.
Okay, and if you do have that in current license support, then contact us. We'll be able to support you with the relevant license upgrade keys and help you through that process as well. So when we performed our upgrade to 2012 last year, we were told that it does not support the backup of SAP. Is this still the case with recent updates?
Yeah, unfortunately that agent was end of life as of 2012 release. So yeah, unfortunately that it's no longer supported.
Okay. With V-Ray, do you still have the ability to back up physical servers, or would this be an additional license based on the agent on a per server basis?
Yes, it's the additional license. The same as the other guy's question. You'd need to buy an extra agent for every other physical server you're backing up outside the virtual infrastructure. The only exception to that is you can install Backup Exec server, media server itself on an extra physical server. But if you're backing up a mix of virtual and physical machines, then V-Ray would obviously cover all the virtual machines, and that you'd need to buy extra agents for Windows for the physical machines.
Okay, and is it backwards compatible with restoring B2010 agents?
Yeah, it is. So 2012 console is backward compatible with 2010 agents, as well as it goes back to 12.5 agents, in fact, and certainly it will be able to restore jobs from previous versions of Backup Exec. You can essentially import the media into Backup Exec to do restore jobs from. So yeah, that's supported.
Okay, so I think that concludes our questions. We should have answered anyone. If you do have any on the back of the webinar today, then there's details for Tell Me More Bytes today, and that come through to Helen and myself, and we'll make sure that we come back to you. So Kelly's going to go into a demo now and just give an overview of the console, what the new one looks like. By all means, feel free to jump off if you've already seen it, but otherwise I'll hand over to Kelly and leave it from there. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks Matt. Okay, I'm just going to share out my screen. Hopefully you can all see. Right, yeah, you can hopefully all see this. And I'm going to do just a quick demo of the Backup Exec console. Some of it you've seen in screenshots within the slide deck anyway, but just to show you sort of what it looks like now and how easy it is to use. So as I was saying in my presentation, it's been a very much simplified user interface, and it's predominantly wizard driven now, so it's very easy to create a backup job and create storage. So it's just the 4 tabs across the top here. You've got the home, backup and restore, storage and reports. The home gives you kind of a dashboard summary of what's going on in terms of your backup jobs, so it shows you backup data from the last either 7 days, 14 days for example. It gives you a breakdown on whether your backup jobs have been success or failure. Gives you storage data, whether shows you the capacity of your storage that's free and how much is full, and of course gives you information on any active alerts on failed jobs. And this can be customized, of course. You can show the kind of reports that you're interested in, and you can choose the format of this. But to be honest, the backup and restore tab is where you're going to do the majority of your work. As you can see, I've got lots of different servers in here to be backed up. And it's quick. It's quite easy to tell what the server is by the icon. So obviously you've got the Windows icon there, SharePoint server file icon, and the blue icon dictates that it's a virtual machine. And I've got different application servers. So I've got my Exchange 2010 server in here, my SharePoint server, as well as just standard virtual machines. It's very easy to add a new server in here. You can see I've got a specific Add VMware server, which allows you to enter either a vCenter server or ESX server directly by entering the details, or I can click on the Add button and it starts a wizard which guides me through the process of adding in the different server types. You can see in here I've got standard, Microsoft Windows servers, as well as Linux, Mac, and then obviously my application types. And depending on which one I select, it will ask me for the IP address or name of that server, and if it does a quick check, sees if the agent is already exists on that server, and if it doesn't, it will do a push at this point of the agent. Once the new server's added in, you can obviously select it here within the console, click on backup, and it defaults to give you sort of template backup jobs which you can use and customize to suit. So you can see you can do things like you can back up to my local deduplicated disk storage, I can back up to disk, I can back up to disk and then duplicate to tape. So I can select any of these and it will open a new job with some sort of default settings. So if I choose back up to dedupe disk, for example, it shows me what I'm going to back up. So it's found that SQL's already on this machine, it's automatically discovered that. If I go to edit, then I can be more selective. So at the moment it's backing up everything for this server, and simplified disaster recovery is switched on like I was showing you earlier, which means the system state and the system volume are being backed up. But I could be very selective and just choose to back up SQL, for example, as part of this particular backup job. Then here on the right hand side I have my schedule or my storage area, so I can click on edit and I can choose when I want to do the backup and where I want to back up to. It defaults to full and incremental, but of course you can change this and you can add differential stages if you wanted to. So you can choose your schedule here, so obviously you can have this running on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And then as well in here you've got the storage area. So by default you can choose from the storage that you've previously set up, so it could be tape, disk, or you can create storage pools, which are pools of similar device types, like a pool of different tape devices, for example. And then you've got different settings based on the server that you're backing up. So you'll see the settings for the backup job change depending on the server that you specified. Because I've picked a server that's running SQL, it does have SQL-specific configuration settings for this backup job. And then back in the main backup job window I have that add stage button which I spoke about earlier, which would allow me, if I wanted to automatically convert this physical server backup to a virtual machine. So if I pick the convert to virtual machine option, you can see you can do the conversion settings and specify where you'd like the new virtual machine to be created. So it can be automatically created on a VMware server or Hyper-V server, and depending on what you pick from the drop-down, obviously you need to specify the details of the hypervisor, give the new virtual machine a name, and specify the hardware configuration for that virtual machine. And that will happen automatically as part of that backup job schedule. So if you scheduled the backup job to run weekly, that convert to virtual machine process will happen either weekly as well, or according to another schedule that you might have set. So it's really straightforward to set up. Again, same with the deduplication. Obviously, I was sending that job to deduplication disk storage. It's easy to set up deduplication once you purchase the deduplication option and enabled it within the console. You can click on the configure storage wizard, and again you've got a wizard to guide you through the process. You pick the type of storage you want to create. So in this case I could pick disk-based storage, and I could set up the new storage device on my machine. Same with deduplication disk storage, you can easily set up a dedupe local disk using the storage wizard. And so you've seen the convert to virtual machines process, you've seen the dedupe storage process, and that's how straightforward it is to use. It's very easy to set up and do backup jobs. So does anyone have any other questions around that? So I'll hand back over now to the other guys and finish off the call. Obviously there'll be a follow-up email, so let me just hand back over to Matt to finish up and say goodbye, but thanks for your time.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for that. So yeah, as Kelly said, there'll be a follow-up email with all our details, links to everything that you've seen today. So if you have any questions or require any more information, then please come back to us and we'll make sure we get back to you. We've got a couple of questions that we didn't able to answer on the call, so they're noted down and we'll come back to those relevant people. But thank you for joining.